you and good morning. As she has introduced, I am by name Sarah Korere. I'm a member of parliament in Kenya. I am doing my third term. That is, I got into parliament in 2013 and through very competitive elections. And I've been a human rights activist because I always say when I talk about women's rights, I want to talk about human rights because women's rights are human rights. And from where I sit, I went into politics because of one reason. And the reason is, you know, when you are outside, you want to be where policies are made. And in Kenya, we say, if you are not on the table, you are on the menu, right? If you are not on the table, you are on the menu. So I wouldn't want to be on the menu, I want to be on the table. And my journey started, I am a teacher by profession, so leaving the classroom, going into politics, very murky waters. And I come from a community, very patriarchal community. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Maasai community. I come from the Maasai community. It's a very patriarchal community, very reserved in the northern parts of Kenya, far north, where the literacy level, especially among women, is very high. I am one of the very lucky women who managed to go to school, partly because of my big-headedness. And I thank God for that. So I grew up with relatives, sisters, stepsisters, cousins who did not get an opportunity to go to school. And when I was a teacher in the classroom, I thought the classroom was too small for me to advocate what I believe in. In Kenya, we have a very progressive constitution, but sometimes you realize it is just a constitution because the implementation is another story. Why do I say that? As mentioned earlier, I advocate for children to go to school. And in our constitution, basic education is free and compulsory. But you find that it's quite ironical. When you go to the villages where we come from, you get a place where within a radius of 20 square kilometers, there is no school. So it's quite ironical to go and tell the parents there to take their children to school because it is free and compulsory and their own government have not put up the school anywhere. So when I first got elected, I sat down, searched my soul, and wanted to understand certain things. Number one, I come from a community where there is a lot of ethnic violence. And you see when there is violence anywhere, armed conflict, the major sufferers are the women and the children. And the government will always give excuses that it is difficult to even send teachers there because there is insecurity. The teachers will be killed, so there is no, there is no solution. When I first came into parliament in 2013, I was a young mother. I had a 2-week-old child. 2 weeks. I did campaigns when I was very pregnant, and I got into parliament when the child was 2 weeks old. That is my last born. I have other children. And I realized even in parliament, where we are supposed to have people who advocate for human and women rights, right inside parliament, there is oppression of women. Because there is no provision for mothers with young children. Like sometimes when you have to go to parliament, you have to choose between the child and the work. If you have to travel for international conferences, you have to step down because parliament does not provide for women traveling with children. And it is a polite way of telling you, excuse me, this is not a place for women with young children. So the first thing when I went to parliament, I petitioned parliament. I petitioned the Kenyan parliament to make a provision for women with young children to make sure that you do your parliamentary work comfortably, attend to your child comfortably, travel wherever it is, duty is taking you comfortably, and Parliament have to take care of you and your children. My dear sisters and brothers, you should have seen the bullying that was done, meted on me on social media. You know, when the petition was published and it was in social media that I've petitioned Parliament to make sure that women with children, you know, are provided for, you know, simple things, you know, like holding rooms for the child. You know, Parliament caters for my nanny when we are traveling with the child. You should have seen the bullying. People are saying these women are crazy. You should just stay home and give birth to your children. You don't go and put burden on taxpayers. Now, when it is women being taken care of, it becomes as a burden. You know, when you want your child to be taken care of, your nanny to be taken care of, it becomes a burden to the taxpayer. Not considering the fact that your child has a right and you equally has a right. So those are some of the things that we really need to interrogate, because we think now, as a member of Parliament, I am there. But you realize at some stage, you are not anywhere. You have to fight for your own rights right inside Parliament building. When it comes to issues of education, as you mentioned earlier, I said I come from a community where armed and ethnic conflict was the rule of the day. Like every day, people are being killed. Every day, people are losing lives. People are losing property. And children are not going to school. So when I first got elected, I sat down and asked myself hard questions. What do we do to make sure that there is a safe space for women to thrive, for families to thrive, for children to go to school? Because without peace, you cannot talk about women empowerment. Without peace, you cannot talk about development. So my number one thing was, I thought education was a key and a very important thing to foster, to bring about meaningful change and meaningful development. So how do we do that? We let children, we give communities an opportunity to go to school. But the handle was, they live two communities side by side who have killed each other for the last, all their history, more than 60 years. How do you build a school? You cannot build a school for this community and another school for the other community. So I thought to myself, I'll do one school and I'll make sure children from both communities come to the same school. The school is called Amani. Amani is a Kiswahili name for peace. So we call the school Amani because where the school stands is on a ground that in 2019, there was a massacre of 32 people one night. And in that massacre, I lost more than 10 relatives one night. So I thought I put up a school there so that it will become a monument of what lasting peace can be. Initially, when I started to mobilize resources to do the school, again, another criticism was there. Because the first question is, who is she building the school for? Is she building the school for people to go and kill themselves? You know, when I did the school, I was surprised. There are so many children who are orphaned by the wars, who didn't have relatives to take care of, from both communities, who are actually waiting for that facility to open doors for them to come to school. And when these children come to school, within 3 months, the other children from both communities came to school. And when children are friends, parents become friends by force. And by the 3rd year of doing that school, the guns went silent in that region. And to date, a school we started with about 19 children, we have 404 children. We have 200 boarders, 204 day scholars. And the guns have went completely quiet. What does that mean? Education is a tool. It's a major tool to empower communities. Sometimes this ethnic violence, from my own point of view where I come from, it is also instigated politically. Because some politicians are only relevant when there is conflict. Because when my community is fighting with your community, then I'll go and champion myself in my community, that I am the defender of my community, that I am the person who will make sure that you have enough guns, you have enough bullets to defend yourself from who? From your fellow brother, from your fellow sister. So sometimes you just have to think about that. One challenge that women, human rights defenders face in such conflict is sometimes you become a target of those people who do not want peace to be there. Personally, I've been. That I live today, it is by grace of God. Because when I started that school and the communities were silent and the guns went quiet and the children were schooling together, there are those fellows who sell guns, whom you have kicked out of business. What do? They go for your neck. Twice, I've been attacked on the road. My home has been attacked. My animals driven away. You know, I was being made poor like all of a sudden. I'm a livestock keeper. I keep a lot of goats and cows. I love them. But I wake up one morning, all my cows have been driven away with guns rent in the air everywhere. It is a way of telling me it's either you shut up or we'll shut you up. But I refuse to shut up. I say you can go with the goats, you can kick them. I continue. As long as I'm alive, I'm not about to shut up very soon. I also had a friend we worked very closely with in this human rights activism, in making sure that our communities are brought together. She comes from the other community, I come from the other community. She was not lucky, she was attacked, she was killed late last year, but we say may her soul rest in peace. We soldier on until they kill us. They will not kill our soul, our spirits. They can only kill our bodies, but our spirits will live forever. So that is one thing that the human rights defenders. There are those people who advocate for cultural practices. Where I come from, FGM to date is practiced 80%. 80%. I say I am so passionate and personal about campaigning against FGM because I'm a victim. I went through the practice at the age of 10. And I think no girl, no woman should go through what I went through. So when we are fighting such things, there are people in the society, people even in government who are what we call champions of status quo. People who want, they want things changed, but they want things to remain the same. You get a lot of fights. When I was a member of parliament, first, 2013 to 2017, I got into parliament through party list. I was nominated by my party. But when I went into parliament, I said, well, look, I will not be nominated. I want to go for elective position. And as a member of parliament, I was accosted and assaulted in one of the biggest, the highest offices in the land, the office of the president, in a boardroom by a member of parliament, whom I was, opposing from my name. And one of the things that he didn't want about me, it is my vocal advocacy about FGM and early marriages and bringing communities together, because it's these persons who champion their community and rally behind their community to the exclusion of other communities. So when I come to bring every community together, of course I become the obvious enemy. When he assaulted me, it was a very big story in Kenya. It was all over in papers. And I asked myself, if I'm not safe, what about the women in my village? So what did I do? I went to court. I went to the police. took a P3 and went to court. But you'll be surprised when I went to the police, and that is one other office I realized, law enforcers, they must be empowered to make sure that the law enforcers are up to date with protecting women human rights defenders. When I went to the police were actually asking me, you know, you two are very important people, just go and sort out your mess. I mean, go and agree. How do I agree with a person who have physically assaulted me? It was in the papers. If I sit down and agree with him behind doors, what will happen to a woman who does not have power like I had? So I went ahead, I sued the fellow. In 2022, he was jailed for 1 year without the option of a fine. But of course, our systems being what they were, behind the doors, some politicians went and did some things, and he was set free, and I still appealed, and the case is still ongoing. Because to me, I think I should be a role model of what real human rights defending is, and it should start with me. Right? So, ladies, I want to stop there. Other panelists an opportunity, and when there are questions, we'll answer your questions. I'm sure when I start talking about women rights, I get possessed. I on and on forever. Thank you.
I feel humbled to be among all of you because I'm not a gender equality expert. I'm working on these issues, of course, but I'm not an expert. And I thought, since I've been invited, I would share some interesting insights as someone who has lived half of its life in an ex-Soviet republic, as I'm originally from Moldova, and the other half in Western countries, in France and Belgium. And as an observer of both societies, let's say, both different ways of living, of women as well, maybe I could share some interesting insights, as well as focusing on the situation in Russia currently, and what is happening with some amazing, I would say, human rights activists, journalists, how they are trying to resist to what is happening there, and what challenges they face. So I was born in Moldova, and Moldova is a society very much patriarchal, where girls have to study school, then around 20 years old already have to be married, have kids, and be in the kitchen. And today, it's still the case. Well, it progressed a lot, but it's still the case. You can hear a lot men saying, your place is in the kitchen. So I've been raised in such a society, and luckily enough, my parents really were ultimate about the fact of studying, and I always was curious and I wanted to study a lot, so I went to France, and then I saw a different reality. So when I was coming back only for holidays, I was already 28, I was still studying, doing my master degrees, and people were asking me, when do you get married? You're already 28 years old, like it's already too late, you have to get married. And when I look back at this, and then at 28 I got married, at 29 I had my first daughter, and when I look back at it, I'm still thinking that it was too early. Because you need to be able to create a family, you need to be mature enough emotionally, and also be able to be a role model for your kid. And I don't know at what part of the day we become those role models. We of course try, but it's not easy. And I do think having a kid at 20 years old is too early. It's my personal stance. And I don't know how women do it. They are actually amazing of doing that. So I went to France and then to Belgium, and I saw a different society where women, if you compare, have lots more freedom to participate in political life, in active life, in any type of decision making. And the challenges that I think, maybe you can, yeah, the challenges that we, okay, sorry. The challenges that you could see here, I think we still face them in every society. We still face them in Western countries, in Eastern countries. The degree is different. And what I wanted to share with you as an example today is what is happening in Russia. And because it's about, the panel is also about peace, we said that there is no gender equality, there is no women and human rights without peace, and I cannot agree more with that. So I wanted to maybe shed a light on what is happening there. I wanted to share a few stories of three amazing women. Maybe you know some of them. They are famous journalists and human rights activists. First of which is Elena Milashina. She's an award winner journalist, and she's been working for more than 15 years, I think, at Novaya Gazeta, and she's known for reporting on human rights, especially in Chechnya. She's one of the best specialists on that. And what she experienced lately is that due to her work, over the years, she had multiple attacks. But in 2023, she has been assaulted and attacked and beaten by unidentified assailants in Chechnya when she was heading to a process for a woman that was imprisoned unlawfully. And this is happening without the authorities taking action. So still to this day, even though we have a lot of camera, we have a lot of, we can see who did that. We can really conduct investigation of what is happening. There is no investigation. So it's really the authorities that allow those things to happen. The second one is Elena Kostyuchenko. Maybe you heard of her as well. She is an amazing journalist, again at Novaya Gazeta. And Novaya Gazeta is a Nobel Prize winner with his head chef, Dmitry Muratov. Maybe you heard of him. He was the Nobel Prize Peace Laureate in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, 22 maybe. And so she has been working and covering what is happening, for example, for like in the last 20 years, she's been working on a lot of issues, human rights issues. But since the war in Ukraine happened, she's been on the ground, she's been covering what is happening in Ukraine. And because of that, she was assaulted multiple times, and she was poisoned in 2022 when she was not on the Russian soil. She was actually in Germany, and she was poisoned. And there is belief that she was poisoned with Novichok again. Another one, and this is really what is happening now in Russia. There is a lot of so what they try to do is to make people inactive, to really say to people, you don't have to care about human rights, you don't have to care about having a political stand, you just have to live your life and we will decide for you. And to do that, they wanted to make sure that everybody that was not thinking like that would either go away or be imprisoned. And that is what's happening actually. People either just leave the country, or they are imprisoned. And my last example is about Evgenia Berkovich, and she's actually a theater director, playwright, and poet. And what she did is stage a play, a theater play, about what happened in the different conflicts, and with the participation of different groups and terrorist attacks. But she actually was doing that with the aim of clearly stating an anti-terrorist message. What the authorities saw in that is the opposite, and she was imprisoned, and she's still today imprisoned in Russia just because of the play. The even sadder story that I would like to share, and I will maybe finish there with the, can we go to the, yes. The even sadder story comes from another few names, but those really paid the ultimate price for their activism, for their stand on human rights, on gender equality. The first one is Irina Slavina, and this is the recent one. In 2020, she just committed suicide because of the multiple attacks that she's been put through, and the multiple discriminatory practices and intimidation. So she killed herself in front of a police in her city, in Nizhny Novgorod. She, in her last note, she said that government and political authorities should be are responsible for her death. The other one is Natalia Estemirova, also a journalist at Novaya Gazeta, and again she was killed because she was trying to promote human rights in Chechnya. She was killed, and again there is no investigation to this day. We don't know what happened. And the last one, Anna Politkovskaya, maybe the most famous one. I think most of you have heard of her at least once. Also a very well-known investigative journalist and human rights activist. She was killed in her apartment building at home, again because of her stand on human rights in Chechnya. So I will finish. So I hope we are all aware of the situation, because I wanted to shed a light on this, because in Western countries we don't know that much about what's happening. We tend to accuse the people, the Russian people, of what is happening. We say you are at fault for what's happening, and while there might be some true in that, the reality is that people do try to fight the regime, but it's just they only have two stances: either flee the countries and then be in exile, people that are defying the regime, or just be imprisoned. And these people are still there to this day, and there are a lot of them. And I think with the killing of the oppositioner Navalny, we saw that people are there, they are trying to have an alternative, and they are really willing to end the war and to have a democratic country. But all the, I would say, all the corridor of action is very limited to them. There is no way to protest, there is no way to stand up, so people are trying to do their best within the situation that they are in. My last point would be on what are the genuine strategies that we can use to empower human rights defenders, also activists, and I would say maybe that's not really a popular answer, and it's not something that we would like to hear, but to me, changing systemic dynamics and discourses takes time. Yeah. So I truly believe that we cannot change truthfully things if we are expecting a result in 1 or 2 years. we need to go to the roots, and to the roots needs to go to the early education. So I would say changing paradigms and social narratives, but through early education and not waiting for the results to be there in 1 year. The second one would be to promote active citizenship and make democracy an everyday exercise. When we become citizens, that we just go vote once in 4 or 5 years, democracy needs to be defended every day. This is how we get to have human rights, either for women, for men, if we are citizens every day and we do involve, we do care about what is happening. It's not just about, okay, I elected someone and then that's it, I will just go do my work and so on. It's an everyday exercise. We need to take part into the issues that are happening in our societies, in our communities. Otherwise, what is today democracy could easily become an authoritarian regime, as is happening in Russia, for example. I mean, in many other countries, but as I was giving the case of Russia today, people didn't even saw it coming. It went like step by step. Okay, a bit more every day, and then they arrive at the point where they have no options than to leave or be imprisoned. So I would say promoting active citizenship, and maybe a last point is really believe in our young people, and I will be making a point on that tomorrow in another panel. I do think our biggest hope is young people, not in the sense of having to give them the pressure of saying, okay, now you have to resolve things, but giving them the tools how to do that, and giving them the opportunity to be equal partners, to participate in decision making. Not saying that, oh, you're not experienced enough, you're not good enough, you're not settled enough, but really giving them equal opportunities to participate in society and to make the contribution, because they have so much to contribute to. Thank you. I think my time is up, and if you have questions.
Something different into the stage, guys. Stay tuned.
Okay. Just let me check. Can you guys hear me? Thank you for inviting me today to be part of this panel. And I just want to say Ramadan Mubarak to everyone here.
Thank you.
And I want to begin by reading a Rumi poem. I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy. My heart is too heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance the sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift others up. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that trap, free my soul. And so with Interplay Sustaining International Sisters, we're working at a very personal level, and I would like to tell you about that. So I would like to start by explaining to you what is Interplay. And so Interplay, if you can move to the next slide. I have someone helping me. That's your way, you missed one. Yes, good. So Interplay is an improvisational system created by 2 dancing ministers in California more than 30 years ago. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to bring the body and the spirit together again. They found that in their churches, they couldn't bring the dance, they couldn't bring the body. And back in the 80s, they found that on the modern stage, dancers had like mask-like faces, and they didn't have their spirit. So they wanted to put the body and spirit together. And so we use movement, storytelling, our voices, and stillness as a way of helping women express themselves authentically. Improvisation is often thought to be something for a form of entertainment, to make people laugh. But our improvisation that we use, the women are always themselves, and they're just asked to find to be free and find what they want to offer to express themselves. I want to say the woman here who's standing is doing what we call a big body story. And we use our bodies when words are not enough. So next slide. What is Interplay Sustaining International Sisters? And we have a little bit of a story here. First of all, we meet twice a month, once online and once face-to-face. But the story begins back after the attempted coup in Turkey. I was teaching advanced students at Georgia Tech Language Institute, and I had a woman come into my classroom who had left Turkey because of the political persecution. And she found that in my class, and I taught 4 of these 4-week classes, that I was applying Interplay to advanced level communication. So she found she had to get up out of her desk, that she had to talk to different people. And what she found is so much freedom, where she felt like shrinking back into herself, sad because she had to leave her country with 2 weeks' notice. And she'd left her family, a PhD she'd been working on, and here she was, empty-handed. So we became friends after she took 4 of my 4-week classes, and I was invited out into her community to bring pronunciation to other women immigrants from Turkey. So I'm no longer calling them Turkish women immigrants from Turkey.
See?
Thank you. Learning takes place. But what I found in these workshops for pronunciation, a lot of people think, oh, to adapt to new culture, I just need to be more fluent. And these women, after classes, they'd be shaking in front of me, and I could feel it in my body, and I'm like, I'm just one woman, and look at all these women who need support. So in Interplay, what we do is when one body is not enough, we build a community. So with my former student, we co-founded together Sustaining International Sisters. Sustaining means nurture. We wanted to nurture and feed the souls and body, the body spirit of these women. But to do it, we were going to need to bring in other international women and American women to create a big body of support. So next slide is our mission statement. And I'll just say that we succeeded in bringing women together, diverse population, and you can see everybody here. And but it was to connect, learn, share, and inspire one another. So we've been doing that now. We're in our 6th year. Thank you. Thank you for 6 years of doing this. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So we're doing well. But I'd like to share some of our practices, some of our Interplay practices. And so in this slide, you see a practice called witnessing. And what we do when you witness is one person talks and the other person listens. No interruption. And this kind of listening, it helps the person not only be heard by another person to feel valuable and treasured, to be listened to, but they actually hear themselves. And in Interplay, you have an invitation to speak in your native language, to speak in English, or what we call the soul language, which is a made-up language. So you don't even have to articulate in a way that others can understand, because they understand it through your body spirit. Okay, so next slide. In Interplay, we have something called following and leading. And you think that sounds weird, doesn't it? Following and leading, because don't you have to have somebody leading before you follow? But what we have found in Interplay is that being a follower is way underestimated, the value of being a follower. And so we talk about something called ecstatic following. And what happens is each of us have our own body patterns. We move in certain ways. In fact, we could call those body grooves. And when we follow another person, we get to move out of our body groove and move in a different way. And it's like in neuroscience, they say like when you move, you start changing or creating new pathways in your brain. So if you're moving differently in the pattern of another person, your brain is beginning to change. But also something really valuable comes. So getting out of the body groove, but it's a different way to listen. So not just listening with ears, we're listening with our body. And then also we're reflecting back. We're giving back to the other person what we're seeing. And this results, again, in just, you see a quote here, I feel a sense of belonging. I feel I'm not alone. And if you can see here, the sisters are following and leading here. And where, one sister went over and is just hugging herself, there's a lot of empathy and compassion there and connection. And here there's, woo, somebody went high, and you can just see the freedom. So this is like a sort of expansiveness, a sense of fullness. Next slide. Here you see, and actually too, I invite everybody right now, if you're comfortable with somebody you're sitting next to take your palm. Can you do this? Take your palm and put your palm next to someone else. Okay, and so if you're doing that right now, give a little push to show that you're there. Do you feel it? And give a harder push to show like you're really there, right? Good, okay, good, yeah, so I see some people doing that. So go ahead, shake that out, go to neutral. If we were in the room doing the interplay, you would be encouraged to push the person across the room. And what happens is the person they're here, they become present. I'm here, and look at how powerful I am. I'm pushing someone against the room, across the room, and then you're allowing yourself to be pushed back. But in hand-to-hand contact, there's a lot of play too. Kind of like your evil twin comes out, you go around the room, we have music, you drop connection, you pick up the connection again, you drop the connection. And any of you who do like psychology, you know that breaking a connection and being able to come back and reconnect is a really important thing. So we not only do that with ourselves, but with other people that we have to leave and then return to. So as we're moving along, we're asking the sisters to get in touch with their body data. And I love this interplay term. We teach people to be body intellectuals. So to understand your body, like what you're experiencing, we want the whole person. We want the mind, the heart, the physicality, and something that we call soul. And so we ask them to check in and find, in fact, right now, can you put your hand on your heart? And if you actually would like trying to put a hand on your belly, and close your eyes for a minute and breathe in and breathe out. Just close your eyes. And breathe in, and when you breathe out, let out an audible sigh. And just check what's going on in your body. Right? Okay, great. And open your eyes and just shake that out. So the sisters are getting used to like connecting, figuring out what's going on in their bodies. And what's neat, here's the stillness part. We can say, what does your body need right now? Make a shape. And so here you see them making shapes, but what's really fun here is they're making a shape in proximity to another person. They're part of a community. And so they don't have to reflect what another person's doing, but they're close by, attending to what their body needs and holding it until they need to change the shape and make a new shape, but they're not alone. And you can see it makes a pretty interesting structure. So Interplay CIS creates a safe space for all women, as well as survivors of political persecution, feel safe so they can tell their stories. And I would say about 50% of CIS is, I have to look, women immigrants from Turkey.
You good? Yeah.
I'm actually almost done. As we share our time together, John, and I think I'm going to go ahead and skip this, okay? Good, yeah. So as we share our time together, we use easy focus. And I just want to share what easy focus is. And I invite you to just touch that spot between your eyebrows. And when you concentrate, sometimes you get like what we call a number 11. And I have 1,111 here. But what we encourage is that type of concentration or hard focus to just release it. So you grab all that energy and you go, wee! Can you do that? Wee! And so what we're doing is we're giving everyone permission to release judgment, not try to be perfect, to be yourself, to be authentic, and to create, recreate, and recreate again. We've talked about human rights, but our birthrights as human beings are to create. And it's through creating, playing, and resting that we find restoration and we're healed. So next slide.
At City College of New York, and I try to teach all of these things, respect for women, respect for democracy, and have everyone understand how they have to keep fighting for that all the time. Right now, we're starting a campaign to elect a woman Secretary General of the UN. There have been 9, there will be a 10th, and we really want it to be a woman this time. So the question I have is, if we had a woman as UN Secretary General, how much difference do you think that would make for women's rights?
Do you have a particular name?
Thank you for that very important question. Personally, I feel if we had a woman as the UN Secretary General, it would make a whole world of a difference. That is me. Why I think so is because sometimes they tell us to use the 5 common senses. But sometimes I believe the women has the unseen common senses, the 6th common sense. So to me, I will rally behind that, I'll pray for that, and I think it will make a whole lot of a difference.
Oh, you can go ahead.
If I may just add to that, there are multiple studies showing that women emotional intelligence is much higher than men's, and that's why they are able to, well, no offense to men, but that's why they are able to work in stressful, I would say, situation better. And we saw it with, for example, with COVID corona, with the epidemic, that in the countries where women were in charge, it was dealt with much more effectiveness than in the countries. For example, in the Nordic countries in Europe, it was the case. It was also the case in I think in New Zealand. We saw how effective they were in addressing those. So I think that would make a change, actually. Yeah.
I approach the issue from a different perspective. I believe in the merit-based appointments in any kind of positions as a gender scholar. So gender equality is important. But as just you mentioned, to show the world, especially the young generation, in terms of the equal participation in decision-making positions, that would be a great impact to encourage people. But to place a person there, appoint a person there, just based on their gender, without any experience or a good education or experience, wouldn't be a good idea. So I would go through a good education and also merit-based appointment. Maybe there can be quotas in terms of gender equality. I don't know. Yeah. He just agreed passionately. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? Yeah, Esra, yeah. But that kind of collaboration, actually, I'm sure that will draw the attention of the media. Seeing them in different platforms, bridging the different, tools, and then, actions together will draw the attention of the media. I remember that. I cannot remember what year was that, maybe 10 years ago, there was a girl coming from an African country, Somali might be, I cannot remember, and she applied for asylum and she just fled the gender-based violence. And it was not a very familiar thing for asylum application, through the gender-based violence. And it went through a whole long path, in the courts, everywhere for a long time, and the prosecutor and the judge didn't want her to grant, to be granted with asylum. And then an activist who was also a scholar, engaged with the situation, and then went and visited different media outlets to invite them to the court and see and report the case. And then when media was involved, the judges, the prosecutors, everyone's approach just changed, just shifted, because they saw that as a democratic country, the United States always, claim that we are gonna go, take democracy everywhere, justice everywhere, and now a girl, with hijab, that was the issue. And I remember that the judge told that, I know through your tradition and religion, you were persecuted. No, through patriarchal systems, she was, persecuted. And then, the media's involvement changed the whole story, and she was, granted with asylum. So there are lots of ways to draw the attention of the media. Maybe, sending press releases or, op-eds. I'm writing op-eds and sending them to different media outlets on a very, relevant day. For example, Women's Rights Day, writing about a very, interesting case story on, a woman's, experience, and it's been published, and it draws attention, from other media outlets too. So strategies, tactics are important here to draw the attention. Yeah, no, we cannot, disregard the role of the media. Anybody? Yeah.
Well, I have a question to Ruth. Well, thank you so much, Ruth, for your services to sustaining international sisters. I know that as a matter of fact, I'm helping a lot of human rights, victims of human rights violations in Turkey and across the globe. And unfortunately, when these victims are going through difficulties, financial, psychological, and so many traumas, not only men and women, but children. So you're helping them, you're trying to get through these difficulties and keep going with their life and build up their life over here. But of course, we're talking about human rights defenders. So when these human rights defenders, they help these people, so when you touch, you kind of like extract their difficulties or all these emotions goes into you. So do you have any services to human rights defenders, or if you can share some insights, I would appreciate it.
Thank you for your question. So Interplay is a national organization and worldwide, and I would say it's still growing, and it has a component of activism. The activism that Interplay is dedicated to right now is racial equity transformation, but it's changing. We've been bringing a lot of Interplayers look like me. I hate using the word old, but old white people. And we've been bringing in a younger generation of BIPOC people who I see this as the next place, because Interplay is also used to support caretakers like therapists and anybody who works there. So it hasn't yet really moved into the human rights defenders. That answers your question.
I didn't know that you are doing something on racial equality. Yeah, I'm glad that I learned.
Yeah, that's a big part of us. It's
Yeah,
a part of what
perfect.
Interplay's doing.
Yeah. And the last 5 minutes, guys.
Roll forward, good, and roll backwards. And now we really have a chance to put a hand on our stomach. Breathe in and let your breath come down to your stomach. And when you breathe out, let your breath make a sound. So it'd be like, ah. Got it? Let's try it again. Breathe in, breathe out. Ah. Yeah, and this time we're going to shake. So shake your voice and shake your body. Breathe in. Ah. Very good. Okay, good. So find a partner. Find a partner.
Up here.
Good. And and find a way to lean on your partner. Just find a way to lean. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah.
Good. Find a different way to lean. Good, and find another way to lean. Good. See if you can just hang out there, feeling that support. Good. Gradually go to neutral. And just turn and face your partner. Decide who's partner number one. Decide who's number one. Do you want to be number one? Good. Okay, number one. I don't know if we can put music on or we just pretend. Can we?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Music. We want some music, so.
Oh.
So now partner number one, you're going to move. And partner number two is going to be your mirror. Whatever you do, you're going to reflect it. Ready? And then I'll tell you when to stop. We're hoping to get some partners. Great. And partner number two, it's your turn. Make a move, and partner number one follows. And bring that to a stop. And let's stop the music.